right, if everybody can turn their microphones on, please. All right, 6 o'clock, we'll start our meeting. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. Our first meeting of autumn. We will start, as usual, by reviewing and signing our payroll and accounts payable. For the period ending 9/21/24, we had payroll in the amount of $35,245.91. We had accounts payable in the amount of $69,821.58. And we did have an automatic payment to New Hampshire Retirement of $61,650.73. After we're done with that and we send Joyce out, I'll entertain a motion to have Andy attend remotely. You have rec checks? You got them? Yes. Perfect. Oh, you're good? Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Joyce.
Thanks, Joyce.
You can flick that microphone off if you want. Thank you. Next, I'll take a motion to allow Andy to attend remotely.
Moved.
Second.
Next, I'll to review and approve the consent agenda.
Moved. Second.
I just had a clarification.
Yep.
Maybe not even an edit. When we were talking about people being allowed to do minutes from home, was that any employee that needed to do minutes, or was that specifically, like, I know there was talk specifically of Jillian, but I didn't know if the intent was for it to be just Jillian or anyone who has to do minutes.
I'm just going to look at this place where it was discussed. The minutes refer to as staff members who are doing minutes, which I don't think we specified. There's only a few staff members that do minutes on a regular basis.
Correct.
So I think it was meant to be all inclusive of those
Okay.
people who have to do minutes of long meetings.
Perfect.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion of the consent agenda? Included in tonight's consent agenda are public minutes from 9/17, which we just briefly discussed, non-public minutes from 9/17, which are sealed, the rec manifest, the treasurer's report, and building permits. We have a motion and a second. We do have to do all votes tonight, roll call, because of having a remote member. So I'll start with Andy. Andy, would you like to vote on the consent agenda?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Lydie?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we'll pass our consent agenda. We will now open up for public comment at 6:03. As always, anyone is allowed to comment on any topic of their choosing. We do just ask that you come up to this front table and push the button to turn the microphone on, or else the video cannot hear you. Is anyone interested in making a public comment? All right, seeing none, we will close public comment at 6:04. We'll now move on to discussion action items, and our first action item tonight is Chief Ventura to talk to us about Police Car 4, which I understand has croaked.
Rest in.
I stole your thunder. I stole your thunder.
Rest in.
You did. It died. Not completely dead, and chime in if you've got anything. It's pretty dead. It's got 168,000-ish miles on it. Did you all get the memo from the?
Yes, we have two different
wanna
memos
rehash everything,
from
but-
Chris. Yep.
Right, so for the folks in the audience that died, it's really expensive to fix, and it's got 168,000 miles. That's sort of the backdrop. So, we do need to replace that. So that's why I'm here. I think if I look at things correctly from my budget numbers, that, you know, I can certainly absorb some of this, but I can't take a hit of Because right now, I've got 32% left, which is for the year. So basically, the way I look at my whole budget, if you look at the bottom line, it's about $100,000 a month to keep the open sign on the door. That's my budget, right? So we've got money left, but I still need a bunch of money to keep the sign on the door for the rest of the year. So I don't have a ton of room in the budget. It might look like it with year numbers right now, but obviously we've got to account for some of that. And I do have some because we did have an employee that, we didn't fill that position. We're really close on that. So, I figure I can absorb some of this, but again, not all of it. It's just impossible to do. I mean, unless, again, if you guys just say buy it and go over budget, because we did that once this year, I'm okay with that too. I'm just looking for guidance from the board to place it. And I'll leave it up to you.
What's our expected number? I calculated out something like 27% remaining.
We should be at 25% this,
25% based on this publication?
yes, because we have 13 weeks of payroll remaining.
25%.
But my 32% that I have here will not include, I think they're usually 2 months behind on fuel bills.
Okay.
So about another $5,000 somewhere in there. What else are we behind a month on?
New Hampshire retirement.
Oh, New Hampshire time, thank you.
Is that heavy at the end of the year?
That's a big chunk.
Yes,
that-
because December will hit twice.
Yeah, so
because
that's a big chunk.
Okay.
So. Right. So I just want to give you all the numbers. I got you as best I can, but we don't have the bills.
I'm just doing like a ballpark. So this one was 34.7. Do you have an updated one on there that was 30,
The one is
32?
32.41
32? Is that a more recent one?
is
than-
what the,
this
is that, this is, I don't have my glasses.
Yeah, 32.81.
Oh, 81, I don't have my glasses.
What date does that have on it, Chief?
9/24/24.
That's, yeah, I'd asked Karen to.
But this one just got printed.
Yep, today.
Oh, so it's probably different from this one a
Yes.
little because something cleared.
This is the one, this is cheap.
So 32,
Yeah, I had an afterthought and
I
asked her
have
to
it.
print it. I'm like, hey, I
Here.
should have
Yep.
today's numbers, so.
right. So technically, if you've got about 7%, so there's a buffer of like maybe 87,000, but then to your point, there's some late bills that are expected to
Yeah.
come.
And there's
True.
also equipment purchases that I put off
Mhm.
as but kind of because of stuff like this, but there are equipment things that when I didn't buy them last year, because if you remember last year, we saved for the officer.
Mhm.
And then when I needed those safety items, we had talked about including them in the budget.
Yep.
Which is when I would do that now for the other equipment that I want to buy. So I just don't want to come back next year and say, hey, we need this again. And you know what I mean? To just
Sure,
repeat the cycle.
sure.
That's all.
And remind me, when we talked about the need for kind of car planning, there currently is not a line in the budget that is for purchasing cars. And we often will buy out of the detail fund, but that's not enough. Remind me what the plan is for future years about future planning for cars.
Perfect. It's coming up later on in the discussion.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway, might as well here.
You can do it now.
So my whole hope is to put a cruiser line in the operating budget.
Okay.
Because it is an item that we replace every year, it's part of our operation, so it makes more sense. And this will finally put us on a cruiser replacement schedule too. If we do a cruiser every year for one, and it's a 3-year rotation. Years 1 and 2 are 1 car each. Year 3 is 2 cars. Because we have to account for replacement of supervisor and K-9 cars too. Because if you don't include those in the replacement, it'll mess up the whole fleet. So I'm trying to get it all organized at the same time. And so that, we almost made it till next year. We were this close, but we just didn't make it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's
board-
the plan.
Board questions, comments, feedback for the chief?
You said the cruiser has 168,000 miles on it. Did we buy it used or new?
Oh, no, there's no.
We bought that new.
Yeah. It's been around a while, yeah. It's,
Just have Wayne fix it.
yeah, that one, that 4 and 6, if you remember from our kind of frequent conversations, those are the two that are really on their last leg. So, if we get the budget approved this year and we get one in next year's budget, we'll finally be like, okay, there's no more old stuff around. Now we just replace it as needed and we don't have all those maintenance costs.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the overall plan that
So-
we've had.
So this would be one, and then next year's budget would be one, and then the year after that would be two? Am I doing, or next?
No, it would be one this year because we need it.
Yeah,
Then we'd start the 3-year cycle.
Okay.
So 1, 1, and 2.
Okay.
Would be my choice,
okay.
if you guys approve.
And as always, when we have an unexpected but fairly urgent cost need, what other potential revenue sources could we use for this? We could put it in the budget. We have that ARPA that's earmarked for mold, but we could put mold out of the CRF, right? Have you talked with the chief about any other potential budget or revenue sources we could use for this?
So the special
Replace the car.
detail fund just reimbursed back the general fund, and so that cash account is depleted to about 10,000 once all of those transfers are made.
Okay.
Impact fees are not viable for this
Yep.
because it's a replacement vehicle and not adding to the fleet.
Yep.
There is 55,000 left in ARPA that has not been earmarked. So if you choose to use that, there is, after this next disbursement request, there's $125,000 left in the capital reserve fund, which should be sufficient to cover the mold project, but then we would be looking at a warrant article in 25 to replenish that fund.
Right.
Board thoughts on what they'd like to do here for this car replacement?
I'd like to just put it in the general operating, I'd like to put it here, and if, with the understanding that if he goes over or is close at the end of the year, it's because we have approved this, knowing that it might blow his budget.
Okay, other thoughts?
I'm sorry, can you clarify that? I wasn't sure I understood.
Supposed to put in his regular
Sure, I
police
just
budget.
wanna,
Oh,
I just
and
wanna
I'll just
put
buy
it in the
it.
budget,
Yep.
just buy it, because we need it.
Do we have a
and-
line we would put it in?
I could put it under equipment for now.
Equipment.
That would fit.
And then if it
Right.
blows the budget, then what? What was your suggestion?
Then he doesn't get fired.
Well,
As long
well,
as our
like,
overall budget
because
is
we
set.
know what, right? Like, if we're looking at this and we're like, oh my gosh, you went over budget, and it's because of the car,
We know why.
then we know why.
And we should, I know just looking through the budget, because we had a relatively light snow year, and because we had, I think, an unfilled position at highway for a while, we have a little bit of wiggle room in some of our other budgets that could potentially help absorb this.
Wayne's highway budget is right on the mark. The snow budget has a bit of a surplus.
The snow one.
I mean, could start snowing.
Tomorrow.
You know.
So again, if putting police budget, this goes above that, then where would the monies come from?
So, if you look, actually, oh,
The bottom line budget.
so if you look at the bottom line number, do you have the the page with the bottom line number? It's like, this is how much is left in the plowing budget, right? And I hope we're not gonna get a bunch of snow, but like, that's a place where one could argue that there is some free space. So at the very end of this, there's a number of how much money the town has left the year. I don't know how else to put it.
It's more like how much money the town does not have to raise in tax revenue with the fall tax bill. That's what that number ends up representing.
Well, and it needs to run the town for the next 3 months.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct, but any
And
surplus.
that number being
It's at the very end, I think, right?
this number?
Kind of. That includes encumbrances, so like, no.
But generally, we build our budget with some contingency room, right? Because we don't know what snow is going to be like. We don't know what kind of emergencies we're going to have,
Yeah.
things like that. So we usually underspend our total budget and then don't have to, that allows us to adjust the tax rate in the fall, which we're going to do probably in the next month. In November, next month or so. So it just would impact that number. The other thing that we could think about is if we decide to put it in the budget now, we do have that ARPA as a flexible moving part. So if we come down into December and we don't like how our overall budget is looking, we could use that ARPA money to backfill this, and then would just have to go to the townspeople for the next year's ask to refill the CRF that we took the mold remediation out of. It's all just sort of moving checkers. It really just depends whether it impacts this year's tax rate or would impact the CRF request for next year. So it's sort of like, is it this year impact or a next year impact? But the dollars are the same either way.
Chief, can I ask, what's the implication of not replacing it until next year?
The implication of not replacing it till next year is we will start ragged again, run into the same type of a problem. When we overuse these cars, it counts towards their use because they get used hard. It would overuse the 2 brand-new cars that we just got for the next 8 months, because that's the other thing too, is a lot of the lots have a lot of the leftovers right now. If we gotta order one for 25, there's no guarantee that we get it in 25. So we could be looking at an extended period on these brand-new cars that we got. They were just wearing them down faster than,
Sure.
you know, it just messes with the replacements. But thank you.
Can you speak into a microphone so Andy can hear you? No, Andy can't hear you.
Yeah.
Well, Ford did this thing now, instead of just miles for the warranty, they hid in the clause that there's also engine hours on there. So I know like Southampton blew an engine and they said, oh yeah, you're under your miles, but you're way over your hours. So they didn't get it covered. So that's another implication. Whereas if these cars are getting run ragged, I mean, it's just another risk that we're taking.
That's,
Catastrophic happen.
yeah, that's helpful, thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, so Letty had suggested just having the chief try to absorb it into his budget. What other thoughts do other board
So
members
just
have?
to be, no, I think we should spend the money. And regardless of which line it comes out of, it's
Sure.
gonna have to be in, it's.
You're
right?
suggesting it comes out of our overall town budget?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Yes, and to your point, we have the option to, at some point, shift things around if things are
Correct.
looking tight.
Correct. Other thoughts?
Yeah. I think we have to buy a vehicle, so probably, as Letty said, should go in the lease budget, and then if we have to backfill it with funds remaining at the end, from general reserve, then so be it.
Okay. And Chief, I'm assuming you'd prefer not to use that 10K that's sitting in the detail fund?
Correct. I'd like to build that back up. Yeah.
Okay. Andy or John, thoughts, comments?
Nope. Chief had suggested equipment line item would be appropriate for now.
Sure, I'll throw it in there and then we'll see how it plays out towards the end. And I'll keep you guys posted anyway, because I'm gonna see you in December anyway for the budget meeting, so I can probably give you a better idea on how that landed this year.
Okay.
Andy, do you have any thoughts?
I just had one question, Chief. Minus 4, 6 in Maddie's car. How many marked cars do you have?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
How many marked cars do you have?
Oh, we've
Yes,
got
minus car
8 in
4,
mine,
car
the
6
detail-
in Maddie's.
3 in mine? 6 if you include the detail.
So you have
Uh-oh.
5 marked patrol vehicles? And we run how many cars at a time?
I'm just not hearing everything.
Yeah.
Did he
Say
say
that
how-
again, Andy?
Hold on a second.
I don't think he has.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Perfect, yep.
Hello?
For 1 second, we could. You can also text me if you want, Andy. I can scribe for you.
I
Yes,
think-
I
I
can
think
read
what he was
your comments
asking-
into the record.
How many frontline cars?
We have 4 frontline cars that
4
we run.
frontline. Okay.
Right.
And how many of them are on the road at a time?
Generally, at least 2 of them at a time, yes.
Okay.
And, and sometimes depending upon the way the days are loaded, it could be all 4 of them on the road. Right, right.
And this is one of the 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that answer
Andy
your
said, I am good with that.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm scribing for him. If anyone, it sounds like there's kind of a general consensus on the board. If anybody's interested in making a motion, I would entertain one.
I will make a motion that we expend up to $73,000
At the bottom line number?
for a new cruiser.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the table. We'll take a roll call vote. Andy, we'll start with you.
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Just request for clarification. I got the 73 from.
Oh, in your, so
Chris's
in
request.
your packet,
Yep.
the last page was a quote for the car and outfitting it, and he
I see
also
it. Yep,
added
yep.
an overage. So I just
Yeah, it's
73.
probably less than that, but Yeah.
Yes,
Yes?
thank you.
Letty?
Yes.
And I'm an aye. So Chief, you are good to go ahead with that.
Thanks,
And
folks.
then
That
we'll
means a
kind of
lot.
stick a pin in that and we can have a discussion in December if we want to do anything different with ARPA.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
That means a lot to the guys.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next we have the Powers family to discuss a summer camp refund. Please come on up to that table over there, that white table, and make sure you turn your microphone on so we can hear you. You can pull another table, another chair. if you like. Yes.
Yep.
We've all, I believe everybody has
Yeah,
seen
I
it.
mean, I wouldn't be heartbroken if you have a hard copy.
Yeah, push the red button, and you can pull another chair up over there if you want.
Yeah, no, I got it on email, but never mind.
Look at you with your folders. Hi, how are you?
He can have mine.
He can have mine. Yeah, he can have mine. I've read it. I've read the email. You guys can have a seat if you'd like.
And then just one.
So, I don't know what format you want me to do, if you want me to go through the entire.
I think if you just want to summarize for the board what your
Sure.
request
So
is.
it's basically a formal request for a refund for, I'll just read the letter. As a formal request for a refund for unused services I purchased upfront from the Brentwood Recreation Summer Program in the amount of $855. Adeline and Amelia Powers were withdrawn from the program in writing by me on Monday, July 29th. Despite prepaying for 3 weeks of services, I did not use them, and my children only attended one of the 4 field trips included in the youth field trip package. It's crucial to note that the summer camp handbook does not include a termination policy. It does, however, outline a clear policy that entitles me to a refund of the field trips my children didn't attend. Because we are both working parents, we had to enroll our children in another summer recreation program for the remainder of the summer. We have now had the financial hardship of paying for 2 camps. Brentwood Recreation keeping our money was not earned is simply without merit. Although I am not required to have a cause for termination without a termination clause, I have included 7 exhibits in your packets that clearly outline my cause for withdrawing my children from this program. This should be all the information you need to process my request.
Okay. Has all the board looked through all the documents? Looks like yes.
A lot of material. but
Yes,
it's
it
like-
was.
Yeah.
Yes. And just to be clear, I'm going to recuse myself from any voting on this issue because I do have a professional relationship with this family. So it is going to be up to the rest of the board to make this decision. And I think maybe I'll start with the board if there's any questions for the family about any of the documents that they provided or any points of clarification that you would like to look for.
I'm trying to figure out what you mean. So there was not a termination clause?
Yeah, so there's nothing in the handbook that says, should you withdraw your children, you know, that you had to do it by a certain date, or that you are not entitled to get the money back that you gave the program for the use of summer camp. So without a termination clause, there's no grounds to keep money that you didn't earn. And to be clear, we're not talking about taxpayer money, it's my money. So I don't really know.
But I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what the expectation, and maybe address that. I'm trying to figure out what the expectation would have been, because generally when you pay for something like that, then preparations and things need to be.
Yeah, so
done.
there is a full summer, half summer, and a weekly payment option. So I chose to pay in full, but you don't have to pay in full. So it wasn't required to have upfront money.
And also, you have given a refund to additional families, so.
Yeah, I
we're
included
unsure
that
why-
check that was dated 7 days before I requested mine.
We're a little unsure why we're not being
Can-
treated fairly.
All right, can I ask a clarifying question? When they're saying full summer, half summer, whatever the options are, is that like a payment plan split up, or is that?
It's like your packages that you can sign up for summer camp. So if for some families, if they're only interested in 1, 2, 3 weeks, they can sign up to 3 weeks. If they need a 4th
Okay.
week, they would sign up for a half package. If they need 5 weeks, they would do the half summer package and a week. If they need 6 weeks or more, then they would fall under the full summer season package.
And everyone pays in advance.
Yes.
Okay, so when you say that you paid, so you signed your kids up for the whole summer?
Yeah, I fully intended for them to
Okay.
go for the full summer.
And based on those registrations before summer camp opens, that's how Andy staffs the camp for the summer.
Okay.
So what happened? Oh, is there a basis?
Exhibit
Andy, in
5.
Yeah, Exhibit 5, I can go through, I mean, there's multiple things, but the series of events that led to us withdrawing the kids was the fact that a lot of the things that were, I don't want to use the word promised, but outlined and expected that our kids would do, they did not do. And then so, we both have to work, okay, you justify it and we keep going, but what was the catalyst in this decision was when I arrived on June 24th to pick up my kids, and they were in the dark watching a movie, and the head counselor was asleep on the floor under a blanket.
Do you have a response to this,
Uh,
Andy?
Was camp happening on June 24th? Sorry, I don't remember when it started.
That was our first day of summer camp, and we did not watch a movie the first week.
Sorry, it was
July 24th.
July 24th.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
It makes more sense.
Yeah.
And then
That's my mistake.
on the issue that was brought up, I spoke with my camp director and the rest of the staff. It was a rain day, or they were watching a movie. There was a counselor.
It wasn't raining, I included the weather report.
There was a
Yeah.
there was a counselor in their way of supervising, sitting with the kids, watching the movie, while other counselors would hang back in the kitchen to get more of a bird's eye view from the whole approach there. As soon as the movie was over, everyone shot up, cleaned up, and it was a normal camp day.
So,
I
I'm
will
sorry,
say that
Excuse me.
that was the day
Excuse me,
that,
Excuse me.
yeah?
Andy, I have a question. So what's the policy with regard to refunds? Because at least as I'm understanding it, they're suggesting that they paid in advance, but they didn't want to use those
Yeah.
weeks. So what is the
So
policy? What can you point to it?
So the reason for denying the request was, A, we didn't have any other kids that could replace them, so we could replace the revenue lost. But also, in the initial request, everything that was brought up was more about being a disappointment of the camp, and that they felt that they were, I guess, sold a false set of goods. And some emails that came after the fact brought up a lot of safety concerns. So I felt that there was inconsistencies. So based off of not being able to replace the seats lost or the spots lost in camp, and just not consistent request in the initial request here, that was the reason for denying the refund. But also, if there was a safety concern in our camp, I would have preferred if my summer camp director and/or I would have been brought to our attention as soon as possible, and not 4 weeks into
It was
the summer
4
camp
days
year.
later, Andy. That was Wednesday, and I emailed you Monday morning. We took the weekend to discuss it as a
This is
family.
not like a back and forth, okay?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not,
well-
it's not like a court case or anything. We're just
mean,
gonna make a
yeah.
decision here.
I mean,
You'll have-
I'm
we'll
trying to
have-
hear
we'll have-
from Andy at this point. If you have questions, we'll.
Andy, can you clarify, there was another family that was given a refund, and can you explain why that situation was different from
Well,
this? Because that was helpful for me. when
Normally, I
asked
don't
that.
discuss other families.
Sure, just
and
in
their
general
camp
terms.
needs. In general terms, we were able to fill the spot, and that's it. We were able to fill the spot.
And is there a non-refundable policy that is in our documentation? And can you point me to it if there is?
On that note, did the policy that was available to them when they signed up, is that the same one that's on the website now?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
And then, I'm sorry.
Yeah, is there a non-refundable policy, and if so, can you just point me to it?
Unfortunately, it somehow did not make it in our 2024 packet. It's in every other year's packet. At the end of the day, that falls on the rec department. But again, based off of the initial request, it seemed more like they were just not happy with the camp versus any, what I would say, legitimate reasons, again, going down to safety, supervision, anything like that. And that's why I denied it.
Thank you.
Other board questions or comments?
Yeah, on page 8 of the handbook, you highlighted parents will be notified at pickup time when?
I think what I was referring to here was just another inconsistency, which was when you're supposed to ask for an ID.
Oh, that's a different page.
Oh, yeah, I might have just highlighted that by accident.
Totally fine. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that there wasn't something I was missing.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I must have just highlighted that by accident.
Nope,
sorry.
nope. You don't have to be sorry. I just wanted to make sure that I knew all of the moving parts.
Am I allowed to speak?
I think, I mean, does the board have any questions about, I think we kind of understand your point of view, what you have to say. Does the board have any clarifying questions on where the family stands on this?
I get, on behalf of the rec commission, there was a substantive discussion about the entirety of this situation.
Oh, great.
The rec commission unanimously voted to support Andy and Jason in the decision that they made. So just for what it's worth for the select board, I just want you to know that this had been discussed.
At the direct rec board?
At the rec board, and that was the position of the rec commission. And while we didn't have the full packet that the Powerses did provide us in an email and hard copy today, we did review the emails that had gone back and forth between Andy and the Powers family.
Okay. Was there a discussion about refunds for trips separate from a global refund?
We had discussed the field trips and the fact that there had been weather related
am I not-
cancellations, and so the discussion around field trips did happen, and I would
Yeah,
defer to
so-
Andy on.
From day one, I was always willing to give the field trip portion a refund back. I just was waiting until this meeting to see what the end result was going to be, but I have no issues with refunding the field trips that they did not attend. As for not having the field trips being attended to, the only trip we had to move was for inclement weather, and we were able to go on all of our field trips. But with that said, the rec department has no issues with sending a partial refund based off of the field trip package and based off of the trips that they didn't go to.
When you say inclement weather, what, so do you mean like it was raining or just that
I believe the trip we had rescheduled, if I remember correctly, was our mini golf trip, and that was either due to extreme hot weather or it was raining, and we had contacted the facility, and we were able to get it rescheduled. And the week that the Powers decided to not have the kiddos attend camp was the week we were rescheduling that trip, and we were set to go. And in our packet, it states that, and a lot of the times I've canceled trips ahead of time and it ended up being a beautiful day, we could go. So a lot of the times we will wait till the day of, because if we do cancel, we just remain on site. We don't replace it with another off-site trip. So we feel that we have the right to cancel a trip or reschedule a trip. And any trips that do get canceled that we can't reschedule, we always do our best to make sure families are reimbursed the difference.
is that in the handbook?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, sorry.
So how much is that, Andy? That partial refund that you
I
said?
believe it was
I have them.
180, if I have it correct.
Does that match with the family's
Yeah.
number?
Yeah, that's in the break. I would be interested in hearing a brief comment from them about this.
Sure. One thing I'd like to note is that the day that, which I realize I put the wrong month, it was July 24th, when I picked them up to find them watching a movie with the counselor asleep, what was the day they went to Cider Hill. So it was a very nice day. I included the weather report. It was not raining. It was very nice. And when I asked what time I should pick the children up, they said it was an all-day thing. And then also in the field trip outline in this packet, it says bus returns between 4 and 5 p.m. They were back at 11:30. They ate lunch at the camp. So I should have been at least told your children will be back at 11:30 instead of me thinking they're getting back between later than that. I never knew where they were going to be, when they were going to leave, when they were going to come back. So I went at 3:30 to get them. They were there and they were watching a movie. They were often watching a movie, and it was just the final straw for us. And honestly, that was a that was a Wednesday afternoon. He was traveling. I told him, I'm like, we need to talk about it this weekend. We talked about it. And we decided that Monday morning. So I don't know why he would say it was 4 weeks later. It was 4 days later. I didn't wait to convey my concerns. I just didn't do it when I was angry, which is usually a good decision. It was a very timely manner to.
And did you want to speak to that
Yeah.
field trip being unexpectedly short?
Cider Hill went on as scheduled. The only trip that we had to reschedule was a mini golf trip. And the only trip we tell families that we might be back after 4 o'clock, because 4 o'clock is typically the pickup time, is our Fisher Catch trip. We always make it a point that we are back by 3:30, because the camp day goes until 4 p.m. and that's when the majority of families will pick up their children. If families reach out ahead of time saying, hey, I got to pick up my kid early, we always will try our best to accommodate that. As everyone here knows, we have a 14-passenger rec van, and we had a camp of 30 plus kids on a day-to-day basis. So when we went to Cider Hill, yes, the Cider Hill trip was an all-day trip for our driver and for our counselors, but each group went for a half a day. So when that other group came back, another group went.
Which is fine. That's okay. We weren't ever communicating.
It sounds like there was a
beforehand.
miscommunication that occurred about how that field trip day was going to take place. Okay. Other questions from the board for either the family or Andy?
Not a question, but I mean, I would just make a comment that, I understand there's, back and forth, and I don't want to get into the weeds of that, to be perfectly honest, but it seems to me that if, that non-refundability didn't make it into our package, then, it's incumbent upon us to give that money back. That's my opinion. And I don't know who's right about
Is
this, the customers generally,
Yeah, no,
right?
that's
But,
subjective. I agree.
if it didn't make it into the package, then that's
Is-
on us.
is that the default? The default is unless it says that you can't get a refund, then it's expected that you can.
That would be my default.
No, but I mean like law-wise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't,
Yes.
We brought.
I'm
Karen-
asking
Karen-
because he's-
It's really
Well,
up to the,
it's-
it's really up to the board to
Can we
make
ask?
that decision.
Can we ask Karen if she was consulted or has input on this?
I guess my just opinion is it's not unusual for a summer camp to be non-refundable, right? When you pay your registration fee at the start of the summer, that is how they staff and that's how they make their plans for the whole entire summer. It's generally use it or lose it. It doesn't matter whether it's a municipal camp or a private camp. I mean, even private daycares that I have paid for personally, if they choose to close, we still have to pay for the week.
Yeah, daycares always have.
Yeah.
You know,
accommodation policy.
it's not unusual.
But
True.
it's not within the contract that.
We signed. Yeah.
well, and, again, that's why I asked what the expectation, was, and then there's this, inconsistency about, one person who did get their, refund, and so it's sort of a fortuitous, situation, so.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of legally, Letty, if that's what you're asking, I mean.
Well, no, I was just trying to understand if that's always the case or if
No, I think it's based on, what the reasonable expectations are, but I do think it's incumbent upon us to have that in our, booklet that people, sign, and if it's not in the booklet, then unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, that's on us, so.
Yeah, so what I was saying earlier, which is kind of a bummer, is that they registered on the website that doesn't exist anymore. So we can't even look to see if there was a different version or different wording. It's just, we're here.
Yep.
So, okay.
Andy Artemovich, do you have any comments?
I don't.
Okay.
My personal feelings I would support the recreation board, but the only thing different is Paul's opinion that without the disclaimer in there, that it could be repayable.
Okay. So there's a few kind of different opinions on the board. Anyone want to try to work this out or come to a motion?
I'll move to refund the, was it $850? Is that?
$855, I believe, is the request. So there's a
Add the $5 to
motion.
my motion.
There's a
$855.
motion on the table to refund the $855. Is there a second? I'm not hearing a second, so I'd look for any alternative motions. And a reminder, I'm going to recuse.
Lydia, I'm happy to make a motion, but you look like you're doing something here.
You can make a motion.
Or I mean, do you have a?
I'm trying to look to see if, I mean, it's not gonna matter, honestly.
All right. I move to support the rec board's recommendation that this request be denied.
And what about the field trip refund?
I'm happy to support the field trip refund based on Andy's input.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table to refund the $180. Is there a second for that?
Andy, that was the rec commission and Andy's input.
I'll give the second.
We have a motion and a second for the refund of $180 for the field trips. Any further discussion on that motion and second before we vote? Seeing none, we'll put it to a vote. We'll take a roll call vote. We'll start with Andy.
Aye.
We have an aye. And John?
Aye.
Paul?
Nay for the reasons already discussed.
Okay. Letty?
Aye.
Okay, so we have a 3-to-1 majority to refund the $180. And we apologize for any miscommunications that occur and hope that this does not occur in the future. And obviously, Andy, we need to clarify in our policies what has been our longstanding policy to not offer refunds in writing. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Sorry it didn't work out how you wanted, but
And then
we will be offering you that refund.
I think it would also be a good idea to have that on the website for when they submit, because the new website will have a place where you pay online, right? Yep. And there's no more checks.
All right, moving on, we have our department head meeting. And Karen told me we don't have a particular order that we were going in. I don't know if there's anybody who has any time.
Can rec go first?
I was just gonna say,
You're
can we do
sitting
Andy?
there. So yes, Andy, you may go first. And just to remind everybody, you know, we do go through all of these budgets in detail. So the point of tonight's meeting is a real big picture. Do you anticipate a relatively level funded budget? Are there going to be some surprises in your budget? Are there major decreases or major increases? And if you have already a ballpark estimation of what percentage increase or decrease you're experiencing, we'd love to hear that. But we do not need to get into the nitty-gritty weeds of your budget because we are going to do that in the coming weeks. Okay?
Perfect.
All right.
So I'll just start off by saying for our budget and future plans, Brentwood Rec will be looking to add another full-time employee to the department. This is due to an increase in town recreational services, facilities, and events. And in order to stay pace with the growth, a program coordinator is needed so the department can still meet the requirements of day-to-day program needs and planning for current and new programs. As far as I know, my 2024 budget is on pace. I would like to utilize the rest of the week that was given to us to submit a rough draft of our budget so I can give a more accurate percentage increase. And, you know, other than that, you know, I like to think Brentwood Rec has been very successful over the last year. We've had our new road put in, we've had decking completed, we're working towards other projects. For the most part, we've had great success with our programs. Youth sports are growing, rentals are on pace from where we were last year. Overall, I'm happy where the department's at. Is that 90 seconds?
All right, Karen, I know we had asked about this when, and I just can't find the answer. When are we gonna get that number?
The full operating budget? I have requested it by the end of the week from the department heads, and then I need a few days to put it all together.
So the full-time program coordinator is the only new anticipated item that.
Yeah,
we're not
outside of
reviewing.
the generic, COLA and merit, but due to the requests that we're going to be submitting in, we're not going to touch any other line items.
And is that a addition that went through the rec board?
Yes, at our last meeting, the rec committee at least voted and approved to add a full-time employee. And then we have another, our monthly meeting is tomorrow. So hence why I want a little bit more time so my crew can actually look at the budget that's being presented.
Do you have a sense for how much that position would be advertised at?
At least 20 an hour.
Other questions for Andy?
Do you already have potential applicants for that kind of a job?
We have at least one, but if approved at all stages, we would love to post it and, interview any candidate that is interested.
Great. All right, anything else you have for us?
That's it from rec.
Okay, thank you. Who'd like to go next? I see you're ready to go. Great, come on up. So emergency management.
Good evening. I've already submitted my budget to Karen, who will graciously present it for me. I wasn't able to get coverage for that particular night of the meeting that's scheduled.
Okay.
It is a flat base budget, my 16th budget, and that's gone before the board. As I always put the disclaimer, it's a budget designed to open the doors. If we have to open an EOC during an emergency event, it gets us open, it gets us staffed, and then we would proceed from there. And that's truly how we try to take a look at emergency management with the what-if clause. And that's pretty much what I'm looking at for a budget.
And the new capital reserve fund that we established with the Seabrook funds really does
Correct.
not have an impact on your year-to-year budget.
It does not.
That's just for extra.
This will be a rolling account
Yep.
to hopefully address large ticket items
Yep.
as they occur.
Questions for the emergency management budget? Not seeing any. Thank you very much.
All right,
And it's
thank
already
you.
done, so good work on that.
Thank you.
That budget last year was 14,875.
And that budget is split into two parts, the 8,500 that comes from Seabrook Station.
Yep.
That particular line was put in there for money that we received from Seabrook Station to manage our radiological plan. The basic budget for emergency management is 7,000.
About that, yeah.
Rough, which is the amount that I'm referring to when I talk about basically having a budget to open up our EOC, get it staffed in the case of an emergency. It then gives the select board the authority to, for lack of a better term, open the purse strings to handle any of the needs that may occur during a prolonged emergency.
Thank you.
Hopefully that helps. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. All right, who'd like to go next? Oh,
No.
whoa, whoa, it's gonna be, you can arm wrestle in the crowd if you want to see who goes next. All right,
Which
so
budget-
you've
which
got
budget are you
two
doing?
budgets for
I have
us,
3
right?
budgets.
3 budgets,
Well,
even better.
maybe
Oh,
4.
because we have elections
You
as well, okay. So
separate
which
them.
one would you like to start with?
So let's start with, well, town clerk and tax, because
Yep.
it's kind of the same, sort of.
Yep.
So currently, we're about $70,000 more in money that we've taken in this year than last year, so that's good.
Okay.
We're at 98% for the taxes, which is fantastic. I'm
Daff,
looking next.
what's the proportion of the increase that you're seeing? Do you have any rough idea?
Well, it's 70,000 out of 1,000,000,
Okay.
3 something.
So small, but
Okay.
an increase.
It's
That's
small, but
from-
it's still.
No, that's
more.
no-
That's
that's
still a
something.
lot.
Yeah, no, that's-
and licenses and
We
fees.
look at little things
and-
here.
Yep.
The 1,000,003, that was at the end of the year, and we're at what right now?
Currently, we're at almost 11, 1.1.
Oh, great.
With a quarter left.
Yep. Mhm.
We're way ahead then.
That's right, yep, 70,000.
Okay. Great.
It's great.
Going forward, what I am looking for next year is to add 13 hours to, it would be 5 hours to my rate and 8 hours to Heather's. We historically always had 3 people in the office. Joyce, unfortunately, can only be with me 16 hours a week, so we are a little on the struggle bus. So that's what I have going forward.
Is that replacing hours that Joyce used to do, or are those
What
additional
we used
hours?
to have with the third person before Joyce.
Okay,
Yes.
so going back to the baseline of where you
Yes.
were.
And Joyce and Heather have swapped positions. So Heather is now the deputy. Joyce is my assistant.
And would Joyce continue to work those 16 hours?
I really hope so.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. She's not dropping any bombs on you tonight. Okay.
That would have been awkward.
Oh, yeah, that would have been. Sorry to put you in that position. Okay.
Then for elections, that will be significantly decreased.
Right.
Because instead of 5 elections, we will have 1 next year. Well, technically
2.
2 if you
Yeah.
include town meeting, but not everyone gets paid on that one, so.
Yep.
And that's all I have.
Wasn't there a
Oh,
new
we're gonna
expense for elections?
Thank you, Letty. We will be adding police detail to election expenses.
Putting it into that budget as
Putting
opposed to
it
just,
into that one instead of taking it out of the police.
for 1 officer, 2 officers, how will we do that?
It kind of, I actually need to talk to the chief about that because I think it also depends on the kind of election it is.
Sure.
Certainly for like a November presidential election, we're gonna need more officers,
Yep.
but a town election, not so much.
Okay.
That's it.
And then the 10,000 for the new voting machine is already going to be planned to do out of ARPA, correct? Okay.
Yes, and we're having a demonstration for the new voting machine on August 16th at the BRC.
October 6th.
I mean, what did I say, December?
August.
Well,
You're stuck in the
whatever.
summer.
Sometime this year, we are having it in October on the 16th.
Okay.
So please come and check it out.
Are those, do you have any other budgets for us? So town clerk, tax, elections. You said,
Did 'em all.
you said 4, that's only 3.
Well, town meeting.
Oh,
is
town
Kind of
meeting.
included with.
Correct.
That's kind of its own budget, but yeah.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah, that's it.
perfect. All right, who's next? Oh, there's no arm wrestling yet. Okay.
I gotta get before the shenanigans.
Everyone's just like, I'm going for it. I'm going for
I
it.
didn't know that it was like a race.
Ooh.
Safe table.
There you go.
Am I not safe?
Yeah, everyone's safe.
I don't know.
We
Gotta
have
view
2
the
officers
door.
of the law in
Yeah.
the room. I hope we're safe.
Table.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so just going back to the first conversation tonight, obviously adding a cruiser into our budget, so that'll be an increase. What we spoke about in last year, encumbering funds for the officer position, that is going to take effect for this coming year as well. So I think that was anticipated as well by everyone.
Yep.
We will obviously looking at pay adjustments for potential, we're most likely than not, the corporals being promoted to sergeants, as well as the normal COLA and merit increases that the board voted on. This year, Andy had brought it up last year, which was a great point, was the state is requiring more training hours out of law enforcement. So with that number being bumped up, we'll obviously have to increase our training line as well. And that's unfortunately state mandated. So, and then just a regular, we might be looking at some dues and subscriptions, minimal increases there just for the new records management system that the county's putting in place. And then as always, Chief's favorite line, which is cruiser maintenance. But hopefully with new cruisers coming on, that will, ultimately someday be a decrease.
And Justin, we have PD training at 7,200.
Yep.
Do you anticipate a large increase in that? or
Full transparency,
seeing-
I'd see it about doubling. Because
Really?
our hours are doubling.
Oh, training is doubling. Okay.
24, yeah,
Okay.
with more staffing and
Right, because you'd have to have, it's not just about the training, you'd have to have coverage.
coverage, and I mean, our 3 part-time staff are held to the same standards that we are, so,
Okay.
we gotta fit them in as well.
Okay.
And good training costs money.
Okay, so this is definitely a budget that we're going to see some increases in.
Correct.
And right now, the department's fully staffed?
We have 1 vacancy right now, but we do have 1 in the pipe for it, so hopefully, knock on wood, that works out.
Okay. board questions for either one of these gentlemen?
Did I remember correctly last year, Chief, that you said that we were lucky with the prosecutor we have?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. We have to add $3,000 to that line.
Okay.
apologize.
I know that we were like,
We did,
well, I wasn't on this board, but
Yeah,
I was on
we
the
were getting a pretty
budget
good
committee.
rate, yeah.
we're gonna do it in 2 stages, remember, we talked about?
Yeah.
And this was to be the second year. Thank you for remembering that.
Okay. I imagine that's a pretty important person.
Yeah, she's awesome. She does a really good job for us.
So that's that prosecutor line. Okay. All right, any other board questions? All right,
And again, thank you guys on behalf of all the guys downstairs for the support.
thank you.
Thank you.
Take care of those cars. Watch out for deer. All right, got cemetery?
Cemetery.
What do you got for us?
I think we're gonna be level funded for the most part on the non-wage line. There's no surprises that I know of.
Okay.
The only thing we did is that we moved the money from the stipend up into the wage line. For those of you that don't know about the stipend, at one time, we had a cemetery clerk and we paid her separately to do all that work. And we've kind of absorbed all that work into the trustees and myself. So we are gonna hold the stipend line for $1. Most of that money is gonna go back up into the wage. So there will be a one-time wage adjustment. It looks like it's like $2.08. I didn't do this budget, my trustees did it, and they're not here to present it, so if you have any questions, I'll take it to them. And
I assume they have a worksheet or something. Yes.
so I think we've handed all our information in, from what I understand, all our worksheets
I
and
don't
everything
see
already.
that line in this year's budget.
So
Was it absorbed in the wages already?
stipend,
It
yeah, was
already is
absorbed in
here, but then
wages.
when she does the wage worksheet to show
Oh,
how much
okay.
each person gets.
Bottom line on
compensated
here,
separate.
it won't look different. It's just
No.
absorbed into the wages.
No, it looks like from what they have, the overall change looks to be, I can't see it, 2.59%. And the total budget for the year would be like 14,368.
That's
Okay.
the same.
Sorry, yep. So 14,739.
Okay, so a small increase. Okay,
That's it.
no surprises.
None that I
Okay.
know of.
Like it.
Cool.
Who's next? Come on up, Wayne. Okay. Don't say that before you even get to the table. Come on, Wayne. Don't bring us down. And you know it's not for you, Wayne. It's not,
What's that?
the money doesn't go to you, right? You know
No,
that.
it doesn't go to
Okay.
me.
All right. Tell us the
Okay.
good and bad news.
All right. This, the budget that I had, I'll give you the figure that I have, what we had last year, we had $1,050,531.
Yep.
That's what we had last year,
For your two budgets together, your highway and your snow and ice.
the highway. And this year, I've already got my new budget already made out.
Wow.
Now, I wanna tell you, I kinda followed these same line items, because they're coming pretty close together. In the work that I've been doing, I'm getting a lot of extra work, but we've been managing it to have enough money in here to take care of it. We have, like, in the road construction, we had 30,000 in there for road construction, and then they added the 350,000, I do the hot topping, which brought it to 380,000.
Yep.
And right now, I have $63,752.92 in that line item left. But I still have to do the shoulders on South Road, and I'm hoping I don't know how much a gravel's gonna cost. I know the gravel pits around here now are getting scarce, and I don't know just yet. John Bell is gonna give me a price. He's trying to do it up to see what it's gonna cost me to do that before we do it, to make sure I got enough money here to do it.
Just to
So-
further clarify that, Wayne, what you're doing is, on South Road.
The shoulders, we
Yeah,
hot
well,
topped it, but now we need to put the dirt on the shoulders all the way.
yeah, but
through.
explain why that's necessary, so everyone understands.
Oh, well, that holds the road, putting the shoulders up there,
Right.
it holds the road, and also the way it drains, when the water comes down the road, it drains, so it runs right off into the ditch. A
Yeah.
lot better.
So you gotta,
Compacted and everything, so.
Do you think you're
you're
gonna
gonna
be?
have to put the riprap in the shoulders,
It-
right?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
You mean where we dug up
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's if I have enough money to do that. We also cleaned out the ditches up there. If you've been up through there and seen all them ditches that have been cleaned out, all the way up past the farm on South Road. Well, we got ditches there now, so hopefully we'll have enough money to put the rock in there, which will be behind the gravel, which will hold, and the water will run into those ditches.
Do you have any idea what the cost is gonna be?
Not right now, I haven't yet had a chance to get a price. I'm gonna get a hold of John Bell, because all the rocks that we did on PBD Drive, and see how much it goes. He hauled them in with the 10-wheelers, and we had a lot of rock on those two roads, so I'm sure that I'll find out what the price is gonna be, so we could do that, and I'll have him do that.
All right, if you could get back to us on that ASAP, that would be appreciated.
And Wayne, I want to compliment you. I know you guys do an amazing job at repairing your vehicles whenever you can. And I see here you still have $37,000 left in your vehicle repair line.
Yes, we do.
That's impressive.
And
You guys are good at
all
fixing your
the
cars.
vehicles that we have down.
I know, I keep jinxing people, but I don't believe in that.
All the vehicles we have down there, we have four 6-wheel dump trucks, and we've gone through them this summer. And we got the new truck is there, and we've gone through them, and we have changed everything in there that we know is gonna bust down and be changed.
You guys do a
And
great job at
actually,
that.
The guys just finished the last truck today when I went to the shed tonight. That truck is gone, so it's over there getting a sticker, and all the trucks have been stickered, and they're ready to go for the winter. And the other thing that we have done down there, that we bought that brand new truck. We got the truck without a front plow. We didn't have enough money in the budget to buy the front plow. So we went back to the shed, and the front plow cost $11,500, brand new. We went back, we used to have a Mack truck, and I bought when I first got road agent, I bought a Fink plow for that truck. It was brand new when we got it. And then when we got rid of that truck, we had the plow out back. We basically it was there for a spare. And we dragged that out, and we painted that plow all up. We sandblasted the whole thing and painted that up, and it fits perfect on this brand new truck.
Oh,
So
nice.
we ain't be
We
going
love your
buying-
creative fixes that you guys have.
Yeah, yep.
So in terms of big changes for next year, what are you thinking it's going to look like? You said you've already
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
got your budget
The,
ready to go.
well, on the salary, we're gonna have the same guys, and I actually have 4 seasonal guys. Us 3 full-timers and 4 seasonal guys. Last year, we couldn't get no seasonal guys. We got one, and we had to play with just what we had.
Right.
And I'm gonna go with that this year, and hopefully next year, we're probably gonna come in for another one full-timer, because we're gonna be getting, I think we're gonna get all of
The Three Ponds Road.
Three Ponds Campground, and
We're just getting the first phase right now with those roads, right? Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna get a lot more roads, so we might probably change that over to another full-timer. And
Are you planning that for
and,
next year's budget or in the
yeah,
future?
not in this year's budget.
Future.
No.
Okay.
And I did up this whole budget. I did this whole budget, and the budget that I'm coming in for is $1,052,909.31.
Okay, so it's a fairly minimal increase. Snow and ice is about 232,000.
Yeah, there's a few line items that have gone up now. The sand and salt this year.
3/4, 1/4.
The sand and salt this year is actually the same price as it was last year. So that's helped.
Yeah, that helped
quite a
us.
bit.
That is awesome. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so no big major changes.
No big major changes yet
All right,
for us.
thank you so much.
Okay,
All right,
Thanks,
Can I-
Mike.
thank
Can I
you.
take a picture of that?
you want that?
Or I'm not gonna take it. I'm gonna take a picture.
Get all the line items right
You're making everybody look bad. You've got yours done already.
there. Huh?
You're making everybody look bad. You've got yours done already.
Yeah.
Good work.
Yeah,
All
well, I had the
right.
help from Joyce.
Oh, you don't have to admit that, Wayne.
She's running the computer. She's a whiz at that.
All right, thank you. All right,
Okay.
who wants to go next? Becky, come on up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's going to seem like small potatoes compared to what I've just
Right,
heard.
well, we're okay with small potatoes.
Okay, so I have two committees, or two budgets to submit. Regional Association, each year we've spent just a little bit under what has been requested. Last year, there were no increases in the 6 regular ones we fund. So I'm suggesting we stay with the 18,000 level funded for that. Applications have started to come in. I've looked at one and there's no increase in their ask, so that might be the trend that we can follow. And I know that as the budget season progresses, if there's any real significant difference, we can talk about that. But that's my assumption for regional associations.
Okay.
And we're now under the welfare budget, so it looks different on your budget sheets, but I appreciate that move.
Still, actually, we still see it on here separate. Oh, these are the zeroed out ones. It
Those
just
are the
hasn't
zeroed
been
out ones.
removed. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Do we have to still see all the zeros?
You can't remove them because then it deletes all of the history.
We can't hide them? Okay. I know this isn't a question.
Old-fashioned software.
This isn't
yeah.
a question for you. It's a question
Yeah.
for, okay.
I think we talked about that last year too as the
Yeah,
issue.
we're kind of
and
stuck with
that's
it for
yeah,
now. Okay,
yeah.
that's fine.
So second one is conservation. I've been working with Karen on looking at the way our budget is structured with the different line items.
Mhm.
And we talked last year about making some changes so it more accurately reflects the activities. So with the discussion with Karen, we are adding 3 line items. One is mileage for trips to conferences, et cetera. The second one is consultant, which we've talked about with the board a couple of times, and we have a contract that has just come back from town council for review. And the third is land maintenance, because we are doing some mowing and anticipate that will continue on a couple of properties for maintenance. It'll be a small amount, but it'll accommodate the fuel charge or whatever the volunteer mower is doing.
So it looks like there's a land maintenance line in there. It's just been zeroed out.
That's because I just added them, so
She
there's
just
0 for
Ah,
no 24.
oh,
Just added them.
Gotcha. Perfect.
That was great. So in looking at that and how
Oh, yeah,
we're
mileage.
proceeding with our activities, I've done a ballpark switching of some numbers, so it looks like our budget of 12,703 from this current year, I'm estimated will increase to just over 15,000. So about a 2,300, actually $2,547 increase, which I'm calculating is approximately 20%. Based on how small our budget is, it sounds like a large amount.
And you've only spent $195 of your current budget?
I've estimated that by the end of December, just with our regular expenditures, we'll have expended another $1,000. So it will increase as we go through other things that we're doing. That's renewal of dues to a couple of organizations, conference fees. 3 of us are going up to Pembroke in November to attend an annual meeting of New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions. And yeah, and postage, we are working with the Open Space Committee, obviously, and we've done some mailings to priority landowners who might be considered for easements. So there was a postage expense in printing that we didn't have before. So that's about $2,547. So
Right.
that's what we're considering.
Sorry, you're saying that you already spent money on postage this year?
Yes, I submitted the invoice
Not in here yet.
Okay.
yesterday.
well then,
So-
of course it's not.
Of course, it's not there, yes. I submitted that as well as the purchase of some books, another $60. So those will be showing up on the next budget sheet.
Okay.
And the registrations of $180, once I work with NHACC tomorrow to pay for all 3 registrations, that will show up as well.
Which line will that go on?
That will go under professional training.
Okay.
Yep.
Board questions for Becky?
Thank you.
Did have a couple of other things to mention. Given that the contract has just come back from town council and we anticipate it will be signed, I might want to encumber some services for the next budget year. And I've talked to Karen about that. She said to bring that up this evening. I just don't know how much work will be done over November and December with October, November, and December with the contract with a consultant. But I would like to encumber something in December before we lose it.
As long as you have a bill that we can tie that
Yes,
encumbrance to.
yes. And second, a question Karen and I have been talking about, the town purchasing a computer for conservation. Right now, in my house, we have one computer and everything is together from conservation on that one computer. It has become incredibly slow. I've had trouble, I've had trouble with getting onto the website with that. So I'm requesting that the town provide that, and when I step off of conservation, everything will be in one place, no flash drive, no separate files. It'll all be together and it'll just roll over to the next conservation chair.
Why isn't it in OneDrive already so that it's not linked to hardware?
It's probably the age of my computer, my personal computer.
When she took over as chair, she was handed a flash drive.
Yes.
So the answer is because it hasn't been
Do you
done
have,
that way. Moved over
Becky,
yet.
do you have a town email address?
I do. Well, conservation, yeah, conservation.
Does this flash drive still exist, or is everything just transitioned to your computer?
It still exists. Every time I open it, it does load onto my personal computer. And what I'm finding is there's no naming conventions to any of this. So trying to sort out this and find something has been incredibly challenging for almost
So
a
we
year
probably
now.
need to just take this offline in terms of whether you need
Yeah.
a computer or whether you just need a good OneDrive management system.
Well,
which is
given
what-
the age of my computer, I would like to I would like everything from conservation to be off my old
Right.
computer before I buy a new one.
Either one would do that, yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yep.
that seems.
Yep, yeah, we can take that
I
offline.
can put on my communications committee hat if that's
Yeah.
helpful, and I can walk you through how to get things off of your computer. That would be
Oh, I know. I just want to move them off of my
Yeah.
computer so
Yep.
that I'm.
Great, yeah,
And I-
because
and
we
I
can
can-
probably do that without buying a computer.
And Jeff Dvorak, who's on the Open Space Committee, has been a wonder with technology for us, developing Excel sheets, and he said he'd be happy to help me with that as well.
okay. So maybe I can figure out a way to
Yep.
give him access so that
Yep.
you can just at
Yep.
least create a structure that you can
Yep.
find things with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just trying to straighten everything out. Yep. From many, many years.
That makes good sense.
Okay.
Little cleanup is always good.
Always good.
All right, who's next? Kip, come on up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, I'm here to discuss code enforcement is, I believe, what we got everything listed under. It encompasses zoning code enforcement, and it encompasses building inspection, and I also do facilities coordination. So, in a nutshell, the budget right now is in very good shape. I have set up a budget for the coming year that probably will have roughly a 3.5% to 4% increase overall. Revenues taken in to this point this year are over 80,000, and the total budget was 88. So it looks like we're going to cover that or better. And the only thing that I can look at that might change is just some extra staff, 10 or 15 hours a week for handling some of the filing, bookwork, helping with the online projects that I don't have in the budget. I wanted to kind of look through, discuss, and see where we're at with current staff and what we might need.
Okay.
That's what I have for you.
Okay. Board questions for Kip?
Yeah, so similar question to what somebody had asked Daphne. You're at 80,000, 3/4 of the way through the year, so you have another quarter left to go?
A little less, I think,
Yeah.
but,
Close enough.
right,
3 months left, yeah.
so. And again, we never know what's gonna happen. I believe we've
Sure.
got Mark might be able to help, oh, he's not here. We have a commercial building that I believe has been approved by the planning board, and that's gonna be, I think it's as big as 300,000 square feet, not sure. So I'll be looking for a way to cover those things. It's not here, I can't address it, but a lot of that can be third-party inspections. And we'll find a way for the contractor to handle those on a separate basis.
Okay.
Kip, did you say 15 to 20 hours a week?
No,
10 to 15?
10 to 15.
10 to 15, thanks.
And we've discussed this a few times before with Kip needing some extra help. Karen, I don't know if when you get to your budgets, if you're going to talk about that, but we had talked about there's a few different departments that maybe need a little bit of help, and we were going to brainstorm that over time. So if there's updates on that at any point, you can let us know. Okay. Anything else for us?
That's what I have.
All right. Thank you.
Good evening.
All right. Who's next? Chief, come on up.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Evening.
Looking for a couple of different things that we're gonna try to do here. As you know, gear went up, that will definitely be an increase, but the biggest ones I'm looking at is increasing my wages to be a little more competitive and also to be a little more on a scale of what the officers, the PD officers are getting in town here. So we're working on that. That is definitely gonna be part of the budget. An increase in training. A lot of these guys are going out and paying for these classes on their own. I think it's about time that the town step up to the plate and start covering some of these classes. A lot of the other departments pay for their time to go to these classes. These guys have been doing swaps to make things work. They've been a fantastic group with doing that, but at the same time, if you want them to be educated in the direction they need to be, and you're doing it for the PD, again, I'm using them as an example, that I think we should be doing the same thing for my firefighters.
And Chief, you've got like about 25,000 in training right now. What do you anticipate that?
I haven't sat down, I just had a recent discussion, my budget will be a little upside down at the moment. I can probably get you something with the pay increases in it, but as far as the training aspect of it,
Not sure yet.
I've got some research that I really need to do and figure out what we think fits for classes for the town and to go from there.
And Karen, when were fire personnel last wage adjusted? Several years back?
2 years.
2 years ago?
2 years?
I am gonna see what I can hopefully absorb some of the cost for you in the budget that we've got going now. But I just want to give you the highlights of what I'm really looking for.
I'll just highlight for the whole board. I was able to attend a meeting of the regional fire chiefs. That wasn't last Friday, right, Chief? That was
No, a couple weeks ago.
a week and a half ago.
After the Exeter announcement.
Yeah, it wasn't,
right?
it wasn't last Friday.
A week and a half ago, and the chiefs all around our area, all surrounding towns, are really struggling with retention, recruiting, maintaining their departments, and this is a big element of it. So this is going to be a constant fight to make sure that we continue to be able to fully staff Brentwood's emergency services, especially given the recent, I'll call it a crisis happening with the advanced life support systems going dark starting in December. This is going to be something that we really need to make sure Brentwood is.
And I'm in kind of an unusual situation. It's usually I've been running one staff members short on the full-time side. I'm stepping up to the point that I will probably have 2 by the end of October. There's open spots. The gentleman is moving on to a different town for a different reason. He likes to play in the water. But, but that's the basic gist of why he's moving on. Been a fantastic guy. He's been with me about a year, but I've been running kind of a revolving door. If you look at what I've held on to, the longest one is 3 at this point, and he may be looking at something different come spring too. That's not definite yet, but he's already whispered in my ear that he may be out of here in the spring. So like he said, it is becoming tough to recruit people. I mean, we're basically short of clubbing him over the head and dragging him in.
Might I suggest something different, which is I know that the police, once they train somebody, they lock them in with a contract for 3 years. Is that something they do with you?
That's part of the research I'm doing, but what
Okay.
I've found with the group that's going on, it's not, my expense to send somebody to class is something the town is absorbing and is bigger than let me try that again. His expense for putting somebody through training is more of an expense than mine is, if you do some shopping around and the people are affiliated with the department.
In terms of making sure we recoup the academy costs for police, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a little different expense, it's a little cheaper expense. I don't have the upfit that he's got. He's gonna go out and buy, well, I do have to buy uniforms for the day, but I don't have to go out and buy a complete set of gear. I've been swapping gear back around to people, so I'm not spending, $1,500 or so per set to cover somebody like he is. I can literally swap it around a little bit, although I am gonna be looking for more of the PFA-free gear at some point. Most of the departments that I've heard that have tried locking somebody into that contract have not been very successful. I'm not saying you can't do it, but with the pool the way it is and everybody floating, you kind of take it as catch can. Literally, if you take the town of Bedford, they will lay out the $15,000 for a paramedic. And the minute you finish the class, they can if they want to. So.
Chief, do you anticipate the closure of the Exeter Hospital ALS to have a direct budgetary impact on us this coming budget season?
I'm trying to boost wages for paramedics, but the problem with the system is, and John said at the meeting, you've got people that want to be paramedics and you've got people that want to be firefighters. And the two don't always mesh well. On a small department like this, you literally have got to have them cross-trained. Because if you don't have them cross-trained, you're now paying for the paramedics to be there and you're paying for firefighters to be there.
Right.
So the model that is being used is the Plastow department right now. He has done that very successfully, is what he's telling us. We haven't got the figures from him yet, but very successfully. He's had no problem recruiting the paramedics because a lot of them want to get out of the private service, have a set schedule, and be able to walk away. I know I'm working 24, whatever the rotation may be, and I can go do what I want to do, and it's worked out very well with him. He, I hope, is part of what's going to sit down with the group as the Seacoast Chiefs to further that project. I guarantee you it won't be done by December.
Okay, so potentially future.
Potentially coming
budgetary
along,
impact.
like I said at the meeting when I sat with the Chiefs, it's not so much during the daytime coverage, although they have done some fantastic work in the last week and a half since they've been told they're going bye-bye. They've been an asset that you can't use. You're losing RSI, which is basically they put you to sleep, and
Intubation,
breathe
yeah.
for you, and they do everything for you. We're going to lose that. They do a fantastic job of filling that paramedic slot from 7 or 8 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. Most departments in the area here, I've got a listener on duty. I may have another one that is on my per diem list in. Epping's got one or two, Kingston doesn't have the paramedic service at all. So after that, who knows? But I'm saying during the day, it's not quite as bad, but they've done a couple of things. They actually transported one for me the other day that they had to RSI, and I had a paramedic on duty.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So you do not anticipate that having a direct budgetary impact for next year's budget, but who knows?
if I
when
could
it comes
find
to
them, I'd love to have them, but I'm
may
as
not be ready
competitive.
for
I may
prime
not
time.
be ready, and I'm as competitive, I'm not as competitive as some of the other places. You're competing, like I said, they're paying for classes, they're paying for their time to be a class, they're covering their shift on overtime if they have to. That's all things that
Okay.
a small town needs to grow into,
Yep.
but you're headed in that direction. I know
Okay.
you can't swallow the pill all at once, but it's coming.
Okay.
Type of thing. So my call department at the moment, I can't thank these guys enough. My nights are pretty well covered. It's been very rare. There's a bewitching hour from like 4 o'clock to 6 that I've got one person that may be covering, and that's because one of the guys that's doing my coverage for me needs to be at work somewhere else in the morning. But so far, it's been fairly good.
Okay.
I may not have covered an engine at sometimes. I have had a couple of just EMTs in the station or during a day, but knock on wood, we've at least covered an ambulance for you.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Thank you for all you do.
Sorry, I just had one question.
Yep.
Sure.
So you have all the positions in your budget currently that you want, or do you feel like you're gonna need more positions next
No,
year?
I've got them all in there. When
It's
I
just
do that
wage
pay scale,
adjustments.
It'll include them all, whether I get them or not, is something different.
Okay,
They'll be in there
okay.
with the understanding that,
You might not fill those
I
spots.
might not fill them.
But maybe you will.
Maybe you
Fill
will.
all of them.
I would love to have, I've been very fortunate in the last month or so. I've had some real gun-ho kids come through the door. Letty knows what we're going through for the BS to get some of them in here,
Mm-hmm.
but
I'm trying to
they're
figure
more
out
than-
how to make that. So's John.
yeah, and so is John. Trying to figure out how to make that a simpler process. Both of them are signed up for a class that will start out of Southern Maine University, which is actually a pro board certified class, which means they just basically bring the paperwork in, say your pro board stamped, and it crosses over to New Hampshire.
Great.
That program would start in November. They have an orientation, and then it runs from December to early June. And that would be 2 nights a week for them with a couple of weekends in it. I've managed to secure those spots. I'd like to be able to pay for those slots. With another conversation, I'd like to be able to pay for that, for those 2 people at least. I've got a third one that came through that I would also like to include in that group. It's a $735 class. You come out of there with Fire 1, Fire 2, and an emergency vehicle class, and some pump where the state is dividing these things up. New Hampshire, I shouldn't do it in public, but I will. Doesn't do as great a job as Maine. Maine has got their act together. There's 2 or 3 different places that you can go, that you can get these classes, and they will take. They don't say you got to be a New Hampshire resident, or a Maine resident. They don't bump you off the schedule because you're not, and you take a waiting slot. They fill them as they come along. So it's been a great asset. I've put 2 or 3 of my guys through the Southern Maine one. I put one or two through the York one, all on their dime, not mine. So I want that stressed. But these guys are very active, want to go to classes, want to be part of it. They are benefiting themselves, as you can see. They're moving on. That's part of the reason they don't want me to pay for it, because they don't want the obligation. So that's where we stand with that.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. So if you have preliminary wage adjustment information, if you can get that to us before we discuss your budget, so we have time to think about it and digest
Yeah,
it.
I can do that. I should have that in the next week here. The other part of it's gonna be a thing in motion. Like I said, I gotta do some research, but the preliminary research is, yeah, we pay for it, and we pay for it complete.
Okay.
But I can't tie you to anything.
All right, we'll anticipate
right.
seeing that from you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Chief.
Who else do we have? Here we go. Hi.
Waited till the end because I stayed till the end anyway. All right.
All right, library.
So, so a couple of things that we're looking at increasing this year. Our media budget, which includes our digital and print materials, both are going up. And we just received a bill from the state telling us that some of our digital services are going up almost $1,000. So that is an increase. And that comes to 5.6% of an increase from 36,000 to 38,000. And that also includes inflation. Books are just going up. If you haven't priced them recently, I encourage you to check it out. I have a few decreased items: equipment, catalog. I'm able to decrease those by 7.7% and 21.5% respectively. Computers, we're looking to increase to an increase of 11.5. We have to start thinking about replacing our computers. They were all purchased at the same time. They were actually donated to us several years ago. So we haven't bought a computer for the library in quite a while. But we are starting to see some slowdowns, and we think at this point we really need to start factoring in replacing at least, one a year going forward.
Where were they donated from?
What's that?
Who donated them?
It was an anonymous donation.
Thanks.
But it was everything. So now I'm going to feel it a little bit. Telephone, Wi-Fi, internet are all linked together. That's an increase, and that's projected based on what we've paid this year, monthly. And electricity is another one. And I looked at projected inflation for electric and what Eversource is looking to charge in the coming year in figuring that one out. So we have, 3 decreased lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 level funded, and 1, 2, 3, 4 increases. So the total budget for those items would be a 3.4% increase. Our salaries are looking, we're looking at the COLA and merit that we've been allotted and have factored that in. One of the big changes we're making is we're changing up our staff allocation at this point. So up until now, we've had 2 full-time, 3 library assistants, so 3 20-hour people, and then a substitute, which is a very minimal amount of hours, and 2 pages, which are youth workers, and they do about 8 hours each week each. Both of my youth workers are graduating this year and moving on to college. One is got her sights set on Library of Congress, so that was pretty cool. I hope that works for her. But another employee that we had last summer just got finished with her college degree and is moving forward at this point looking to get her MLIS, which is a Master's in Library and Information Science degree. And she's moved back to Brentwood. So she is working with me currently, and I'm adding her into the budget as another 20-hour person. So we would be reducing by 2 8-hour people and increasing by 1 20-hour person with a different pay scale based on experience and what is being offered and availability. And part of the reason we're not going to refill the youth positions is, number one, we've been spoiled rotten. We've had fabulous youth workers, and I'm just not seeing right now people in the pipeline that can fill that. But also, we find ourselves at various times really struggling to fill shifts because obviously they can't work during the day, and they can only work nights and weekends. And then within that, when they started and when new people start, it's usually at the age of 14, we're bound by labor laws that are pretty stringent. So this would help us avoid some of that, give us more flexibility, and buy-in from a great candidate who's already an employee, increasing her hours. Secondarily to that, we recently, unfortunately, our youth librarian suffered an injury and is going to be out for a significant amount of time. And so it occurs to me that we don't really have backup plans at the library. And so doing another 20-hour person will really help in that, those kinds of situations. Not that I'm hoping or thinking that that's going to happen, but have to be real.
Okay.
So I don't have the percentage for the staff because I have to have Gabby look at it again. We did some number wrong. It's not looking right. So I've got to get that fixed, but.
Okay. All right. Questions for Janice? Okay. All right. I think we're good.
Thank you.
All right.
You're not last. Jack's still here.
And we got a couple left.
Kristen regretfully can't be here this evening, so we've created a statement here. We will have unexpected funds from using grant monies for master plan updates and having the assistant position open for some time. The board authorized spending up to $2,300 to purchase additional microphones. That was a motion, so we do have quite a bit of money.
Awesome, as per your request from our last meeting.
Correct.
Great,
yes.
that
Yeah,
would be
so
wonderful.
I thought that might ease me coming in for money to do that.
Right, to give
We have
us
money in the planning board
hey,
budget.
we like
We'll-
that.
We'll get it done. We plan to contact this year and encumber some of the funds to update road-related requirements, approximately $5,000. This is something we've been discussing for more than a year. Had an estimate from TEC to do it, and just need to get an updated estimate and a contact. So we want to update our road ordinance. It's pretty standard fare. We do that every year. Update a few ordinances, a few parts of the master plan. We might also sign a contract and encumber funds to review our stormwater ordinance. We had a stormwater expert present to the board earlier this year, and it sounded as though there were some changes that we could bring to our ordinance more in line with current best practices. We do not yet have an estimate. Unfortunately, that engineer has been contacted and cannot fit us into his schedule. He was really excellent. So we're still looking into engineers who can update that stormwater ordinance. Currently, we put $8,500 a year in the budget to update 1 to 2 master plan chapters. We would like to start a fund to save money to update the entire master plan in a few years, which will give us more robust, holistic plan rather than something that's being piecemeal. As a part of a warrant article to create this fund, we would like to propose that the fund be seeded with any of remaining expended money from 2024. This would not be new spending, but a different approach to spending for something that is at least part statutorily required. So what we do right now is we update 1 to 2 chapters of the master plan a year, and it's more of an approach to spending a whole bunch of money redoing the whole master plan. It's really keeping in mind that yes, this has to be done, but we want to be responsible to the taxpayers. Since we have a really large sum of money within our budget at the moment, they had the idea that they want to just redo the whole thing all at once. So they want to create go to a town meeting and create a fund from which we can expend that from, because we don't have a contract right now. That money has to be encumbered in a contract. or it gets turned
Oh,
into
I
the
see.
budget.
You
So-
have the money to encumber, but we don't
Right.
have the ability
Would
to
that
do
be
it.
kind of like we do it for the reevaluation?
So there's two options, right? They could either create a capital reserve fund and deposit some money annually into doing that. But it sounds more like their intention was to use unassigned fund balance to fund a warrant article for that purpose.
To just completely fund it, rather than ask the public to fund it yearly, because you have some extra room in your budget this year.
Correct, yes.
Do you know what the cost is?
If we spend
Approximately?
$8,500 doing just two parts of our master plan, it's gonna eat up, I would say, 3/4 of the money that we already have.
How many parts are there?
I believe there's 5. I'd have to look. I don't have that figure off the top of my head. But some are more,
Could we do both? Could we start the fund with the
You can only
idea?
encumber if you have an actual invoice to tie it to.
No,
So I
no,
think that's
sorry,
just-
I meant, sorry, I was not clear.
But you could create a warrant article for using unassigned fund balance for a portion of the funds and then create a capital reserve fund.
Like, because
Sure.
even if we
Oh,
fix
yes,
this
yeah.
problem now, we're still gonna have to deal with it later, so we
Yes.
might as well start the fund.
Yes, you could do both.
or you just keep on the same track that we have been going, just putting it right into our budget.
Right.
I mean, the planning board budget is, quite honestly, one of the smallest budgets in the town of Brentwood, so. It's all about how you
I
want to
mean,
do it.
Becky's looking directly at you right
Hers is,
That's
14,000.
true. One of the, I said one of the,
Okay,
one of the.
okay.
So you'll circle back around to us during the rest of budget season to let us know what planning board wants to do about that?
This has all been kind of a roundabout discussion within the planning board,
Okay.
but nothing has been really nailed down.
Okay.
Of really what they want to do. And I thought that this is really the purpose of this meeting, is to get these ideas out here to you and for us to really nail them down and figure out how they want to go about it.
Okay.
Overall, we would like to propose a small increase to account for COLA inflation. The Rockingham County Planning Commission's fee went up by a few $100s, and possibly a small number of additional hours for Glenn to review zoning proposals. No major changes until we know if the town supports creating a fund for the master plan. We will leave the $8,500 line item in the budget. That's pretty standard fare. So what I've done is I've instituted Glenn to change his contract to review ZBA applications as well. He will not be attending the ZBA meetings. He'll be just writing a comment letter to the ZBA to add additional content for them to consider for the applications. We are planning to apply for the next round of housing opportunity grants to continue our work and draft new updated housing-related ordinances. And I'll give the planning board a lot of credit for seeking these grants and not coming to taxpayers to fund things when we want to update. The state of New Hampshire is very hot right now on updating housing ordinances. So there's grant money out there. All you do is you need to apply for it. And the planning board's done a great job of that by not funding these through taxation and funding them through grants. And I give them a lot of credit for that. We would like to note that we did return money to the town last year, and that we continue to work diligently to manage our budget and taxpayers' money responsibly.
Sounds good. Board questions for Mark?
So there was a lot of general wordage. So overall, your budget's gonna be going up mostly because of,
It's gonna be, so let's
Glenn.
go to brass tacks.
Yeah.
It's mostly gonna be level funded. It's gonna small increase to COLA.
okay,
Probably not an increase to Glenn's contract. I've
Mhm.
talked to him about that.
Mhm.
He doesn't feel that the amount of hours that he's gonna have to put into the ZBA is significant.
Mhm.
It's
Okay.
him reviewing it and writing a comment letter, and I think I can fit that into his general day.
Mhm.
And he seems to feel the same thing.
Okay.
So I think that's probably gonna be level funded.
okay,
What was the other small increase? COLA,
okay.
Glenn?
So no major.
There's gonna be
things.
no major.
Okay,
The only major thing they're trying to accomplish is to keep the funds that's in their balance right now.
mhm.
We are gonna give Glenn a raise though, right? Because, I mean, I remember multiple times.
He has not requested that.
2 years ago, yes, because yes, we
Sure.
we talked about
wage
this in
adjustment, I
a
think
board
he was in
meeting
there.
with him.
Okay.
He feels that he shouldn't submit for a raise this year. Some
Okay.
people feel differently. You may feel differently, and that's okay.
I just remember
we know
one
what you
year
yours.
we were and this was since I've been on board, but I don't remember which year it was. It seemed like everyone was getting a significant wage adjustment, and he chose to do the same thing. So I just want to make sure that we're doing good by someone who's done so much work.
I
in
agree
service
100%.
on behalf of the town.
First stated by him, it was 2 years ago that he was.
Okay.
It was significant.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Could you at least figure out what that would be if we did give him like a 3% COLA or something?
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, we can do that.
Great. Any other questions for Mark? Okay, thank you.
Can I give a quick reminder to department heads?
Sure.
Please, as you go about the budget season, please remember the CIP.
Yep.
It's 10,000? I think it's everything over 10,000. Anything over $10,000, please include it in your CIP. We cannot use impact fees to pay for anything unless it's on the CIP.
Correct.
So keep that in mind. Glenn and I will be going over the CIP this Wednesday.
Tomorrow.
And I think departments had been pretty good about getting back to you folks, right? Okay.
Well, I just want to put that out there during budgetaries. This
Yep.
is the time you're looking at
Yeah,
numbers.
don't
This is
forget
the
to put
time you're
stuff
looking
on
at things. If it's over 10,000, just put it on there.
Even if it's 3 or 4 years from now.
Even if it's even if it's 3 or 4 years from now.
Yep.
If we're going to end up spending the money within 3, 4 years, just put it on there because it's way easier to budget that and encumber impact fee money to help fund those things. And it's just a friendly reminder.
Very good reminder. Thank you. All right, do we have anybody else out? Jack?
All right.
Jack Mitchell, for the people. No, I'm sorry, for the budget.
For the budget committee.
Budget committee will once again be level funded. We don't anticipate any change from the prior year.
Perfect.
Any questions?
No.
What do
Anybody
you mean
else?
by level fund? No, just kidding.
From $500 to $500.
Oh,
Okay, thank you.
Have I been dismissed?
You've been dismissed.
No.
Unless you have anything else you would need to tell us.
Just a couple of comments. One is, it's good to see the activity with grant. We've got a grant writer here. Library's got a grant writer in the wind.
Yep.
Chief Joe has got a grant.
I'm working with one now.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
That's the one, but it's good to see that activity. I mean, that's a
Definitely.
big change from a year ago,
Yeah.
actually. Beyond that, are we still on the hook for tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock? Paul, you're gonna be able to make it?
For a while.
with-
How long do you expect?
However long it takes.
I only got so much time.
Not more than an hour.
All right.
Is that right?
I'm going to hold you to that. I will be
Yep.
there till 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, Mark?
Oh, I have it on schedule, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you all.
Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else in the audience that we have? No, I don't think so. All right, Karen, are you gonna do any budget summary for us, or are you gonna,
I can give you, I'm not gonna go through all of the budgets.
Yeah. Any major changes you anticipate?
The changes that I would see is in the executive office budget, there will be some changes along with the ALS closure. Center for Occupational Health has also,
Yes.
will also be closing. So that will impact the town as far as drug and alcohol testing, pre-employment testing, and post-accident testing.
In terms of us just needing to contract with some other
To finding a new
service.
vendor.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
The assessing contracts are going to be level funded as well as the mapping contracts. Our IT budget will be slightly up. They are looking for a small inflationary increase. And then with additional licensing and things of that nature, that budget will be up about 8,000, I anticipate. Our trash contract is coming due at the end of this calendar year. It was a 2019 contract, and so it did not absorb any of the COVID increases. So we're anticipating about an 18% increase in our trash contract. That's going to be a significant change as far as collection. They're also moving towards automation. So those will be some changes that are coming in there. The debt service budget, which is our bonds, is going to see an increase. So there's the $250,000 bond that was executed for the Fuller project. That will be incorporated in this year's budget. The Conservation Commission also anticipates potentially about another $250,000 to $300,000 that may be executed in '25. So if they execute another conservation easement, I'm going to budget for that just in case. So that budget may not be expended, but we'll plan for it.
Okay.
Insurance, as far as medical and dental insurance, that will not be, those rates and property liability, workers' comp, all of that will not be set until late October. But based off of what I'm hearing tonight, it looks like we're moving 2 part-time insurance benefits to full-time and then adding a couple of full-time positions. So you'll see those increases in the benefits budget.
Okay. Any other of your budgets that you anticipate a major change?
I guess the only other thing, the welfare director is going to be, well, she's been trying to retire for like 5 years now, but she says maybe this year is the year. So we'll have to budget for those changes, potentially adding in some office hours in the finance department and then working with Kip to see how we can augment those hours to the best of the ability to maximize office coverage with the least amount of tax impact.
Are you still thinking of if we have to add somebody to use that person in multiple departments, as we had talked about at one point?
I think if we can make that scope work based on the skill sets, then that is what we would try to do. I wouldn't anticipate it being full-time though, but perhaps 32 hours and benefits eligible. If Kip is needing someone for 10 to 15 hours, I could easily use someone for the others.
Okay. Questions for Karen on those big picture updates?
Not on those specifically, just I know we had talked in the spring about pulling like electricity into its own budget, or I think we talked about cable, like those things that like are in every budget but are going to all change at once.
Like we did with insurance and
like I don't know if you call it utility, like right, like there are bills that you have to split in a weird way to put this part in fire and like so I don't know if we still want to do that or not.
I think specifically electric, we had talked about that because of us buying the solar panels and everything. I don't know if you have thoughts on the pros and cons of pulling that out into its own budget like we did with insurance.
I don't think, I mean, those are pretty stable average costs every month, so it wouldn't be a big budgetary impact, I don't think, to move them. It's just ease and convenience.
Do you think it's easier to leave them in their home budgets where they are or to pull them out?
I guess that depends what's the board's intention is in moving them. So if you're going to be pulling them out of the highway budget to put them in the government buildings budget, but it would still have its separate line item, it doesn't really accomplish anything necessarily, right? I mean,
I was just thinking that in the general government,
but if you have
buildings budget, it would just say electric.
And if that's what you want to do and then fund it and then pull it from fire and highway and all of those other budgets, that's fine. I guess the only outlier would be rec because they're split 55-45 between the operating budget and the revolving fund. So those would have to remain separate.
I think with insurance, it seemed to be a major benefit to pull it out because it was just having like a differential impact on different budgets. And it was just so much cleaner to pull it all out together because we all rise and fall together with insurance. I don't know with electric, I guess I don't feel it might not have as much bang for its buck to pull it out, but
with benefits, it also it was a HIPAA violation because we have so many departments that is only one person.
Right.
So you knew it.
It gave increased privacy too to do that. That's true.
If we want to pull electricity totally out of rec, that would be totally fine.
Just say
you're okay. You're okay with that.
Just saying.
Okay. Just saying. Yeah. So we could put a pin in that.
I like the uniformity of it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions for Karen?
About this?
About any of her budgets or major changes as she just discussed?
No.
Okay. So I think, do we miss anybody? Did we get everybody?
Everybody.
We got everybody. All right, 7:54, and we're done with everybody. And so by the end of this week, you've asked folks to kind of give their bare bones guesstimate on what their budget will look like.
Yes.
And then you'll have some time to kind of put that together and give the board, if all of those things were to stay the same without changes, which we know they could change, what our overall budget impact might look like before we start discussing.
Yes.
Yes. And BudCom is going to discuss their first set of budgets, I think on October 21st, I want to say. And so what is our plan for our first set of budgets, the meeting
10/8.
before that? 10/8, so 2 weeks from now. Perfect. Okay.
Do you think it's realistic to have the information by next meeting then?
That's what I'm shooting for.
Okay.
If everybody.
I'm gonna give you all of the positive vibes for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing our best, right? This is a change this year, so, and we know that it's a guesstimate, but at least gives us like a starting place to think about.
I mean, Wayne has his budget done.
Yep, it's true.
Good start
So
with
we-
him.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. All right, so we will call the department head meeting to be closed at this point, and then we will move on to regular business. And as usual, we will start with Karen and any regular business that she has for us.
I have an elderly exemption to be approved.
And meets
A
all of our
new elderly
criteria.
exemption, yes.
Okay. And generally, when we vote on these, do we, I don't remember if
We
we
do not
usually,
identify
we don't
them. That is
identify
not
them,
public
right?
information.
That's what I thought, okay. So I will take a vote, a motion to accept this elderly exemption.
Moved.
And we'll take a roll call vote. Andy? I don't know if he's still with us, but I think he is.
Aye.
Okay, John?
Aye.
Paul?
How old is the elderly person?
They're the
Elderly.
oldest.
They're
Elderly.
They're
They're
elderly.
over 80. They're receiving the maximum.
There you go.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye, so we each have to sign here. All right.
This
Well,
is
you can see.
an intent to cut for 193 North Road. It's a new lot.
I will take a motion to approve this intent to cut on 193 North Road.
So moved.
Second.
And we'll take a roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul? Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So we each sign this as well.
As Mark stated in his update, the planning board is looking to apply for a housing opportunity grant 2.0. So this is a letter of support to be signed by the select board to go up with that.
I will just read this here. It's to the New Hampshire Housing Invest NH Housing Opportunity Planning Grant Program. Grant Review Committee, the Town of Brentwood Select Board supports the Brentwood Planning Board's efforts to address housing issues in our community and its application for the Invest NH Municipal Planning and Zoning Housing Opportunity HOP Grant 2.0. Prior grant funds secured by the Planning Board were helpful in identifying issues, opportunities, and goals through community engagement and expert assistance. The HOP 2.0 grant is critical for the board and our community to continue this work and effect change. Respectfully signed on behalf of the Town of Brentwood Select Board. I'll take a motion to sign that.
Moved.
Second.
Roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul? Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. I'm assuming I can just sign on our behalf.
Yes, please. I have an appointment slip for Carol Beliveau for Inspector of Election to expire August 1, 26.
It was my understanding that Carol had stepped down in this position. Has there been a change in that?
There has been a change, yes.
Okay.
Is that the standard interval? I feel like the other ones were all expired like the end of this year maybe, or?
I think they were all in that same time period.
Okay, never mind then.
I don't remember what the terms were.
I knew it was all in August, expiration in
What's
August.
time, honestly?
I feel like they were 1 year though.
Okay.
I don't remember. Does anybody remember when we signed all those other ones? I feel
No.
like they were a relatively short period of time.
Okay. Then we'll just do it for that then.
Is this the, do you know if this is the standard or is it different?
I don't remember the expiration date off the top of my head for the others. Do you want to, I mean, you can wait if you want. I can
No,
ask staff.
it's not worth it.
Yeah, no worries for it. Okay. I'll take a motion to approve Carol Beliveau for Inspector of Election.
Moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, Andy?
Aye.
Paul? John, I skipped you.
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
No, I'm an aye. Should we talk about that in non-public? Or do you think? Yes?
Sure. I think it's a no, but.
Okay. All right. Any other things that you have for us?
No.
Okay. So we will move on to committee updates or general board business, and Andy, we'll start with you. Do you have anything for the board?
I do not.
Okay. John?
Rec meeting tomorrow, and then is there any update on the contract that we discussed last week for the with the consultant?
I just got the comments back today, and so I just need to add in there's a few sections that need to be added in before we can send it back to Nancy.
Okay.
So
Sounds
just
good.
about done. Okay.
Like, do you think tomorrow she could expect to see?
She can see the draft, and then she'll have to be agreeable to the new terms as proposed.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
Anything else you have?
That's all I got.
Okay. Paul?
Nothing at this time.
Everybody's tired. Letty?
We had a planning board meeting last week. We conditionally approved an addition to the MTI Polyaxy facility on Pine Road. I think that's it. Well, that's not my committee to report on, but yes. I was there.
She's a community member that predated her time on the board.
What's the situation with internet?
I still haven't received the contract back from Fidium's council.
Okay. I would like to have and I don't know if, I guess this is communication maybe, I don't know. I would like the board to mandate two-factor authentication for all town email accounts.
Okay. Have we ever done that before, or would this be new?
It would definitely be a new thing.
Yeah, I would think so. Okay. What's your thinking on that, just for general security of email communications for town emails?
Mm-hmm.
Karen, your thoughts on that?
I guess I would like to move towards that. I had a conversation with Jason at Block 5 about that today, but we want to put a pin in it for a minute. He put me in contact with someone at Primex, so he wants to do a whole cybersecurity audit. And then as part of that, he has a couple of policies that they want to introduce, and then part of that would be 2FA.
So is there a reason we couldn't do it before that, though?
Well, we'd have to generate the policies in order to, before we would want to implement it.
Do we have a town, cybersecurity policy, or would this be creating one?
This would be creating one. We have disaster recovery policies, but not cybersecurity policies specifically.
Is there any downside to just implementing it now?
I guess not.
That's the creation of a policy.
Well, it's not even a policy. It's just the select.
Well, it
board
sounds like
said
it would
so.
be part of a cybersecurity policy. Is that what you're suggesting?
That would be the intention, so that you
Right.
have consistency over it. So it's not just impacting town
Right.
employees, it would be impacting everyone that has a town email.
What's
but that's what I'm saying.
That's-
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
what I think that's what she's saying.
What's the time frame for that cybersecurity audit and creation of those new plans?
I have no idea. I just talked to Jason, just introduced the concept to me today at 3 o'clock.
Okay, okay.
Ugh, jeez.
Okay. Well, Letty, would you be willing to stick a pin in that until we see how that's going to play out? And if it's going to take a long time, we could discuss it again?
Yeah, definitely. I think just, it's not gonna hurt anything to just do it now, but if we can do that audit quickly, then it won't matter.
Okay.
And then on that same note, I think we should consider or figure out or have a better understanding of what the data retention policy is when it comes to emails. Because I know, at least for the select board, all emails to and from select board members are official records and should not be deleted. And so I think we need to figure out how to manage that.
Would that kind of thing go under this sort of policy? Or would that be a separate? Could be kind of worked into the same process.
That might be a
of
tech policy, but it wouldn't be
tech
cybersecurity.
policy.
So there is, Microsoft Office 365, whatever we have, we can just on the back server side keep everyone's emails forever. We just have to decide which accounts we want to do that for, and then there's a fee associated.
Right. Okay. So it sounds like that should go under sort of tech planning and then cybersecurity planning as well. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think that's it.
All right. Updates from me. BudCom did have our library site walk yesterday, but obviously Janice touched on all the points that I would have reported from that visit. We did have our municipal building meeting today and got some preliminary numbers, which the board felt were pretty high and inflated from what was expected. That was north of 20 million for a combined municipal police building. Obviously, none of us like those numbers or want to move forward with those numbers. So the thought was that those numbers are sort of worst case scenario estimates and that we want to get some more realistic estimates before we move forward. So we knew we could get a high number, but nobody on the committee thought it might be that high.
And I
So
think
we're
the
gonna
number, even they
move
did
forward
have a
from there.
number. Didn't they have a number? If you remove the town hall services from that building, it would still be like
Yes.
16 million.
They're
just for PD?
estimating, yes, they're estimating based on the floor plan analysis that if you were to do a combined building, about 2/3 of the cost would be PD and about 1/3 of the cost would be town offices. So with a number that big, even if you removed the town office portion, you're still talking about a very big number. So that's the Weston and Sampson group that told us that, they couldn't give us exact numbers because it's not like it's a building quote. It was like a ballpark. And I think everybody on the committee, had sticker shock in seeing that. And so we're just going to move forward from there and see what happens. And, it doesn't really change anything about the planning. It's just we're going to keep moving forward and see if we can get realistic numbers before we're ready to bring it to the town. So we're just going to take one step ahead, but everybody on the committee felt the same about those numbers, as I'm sure the public does. So we are just going to keep moving forward and see what we can get to on that plan. I think that was all that I had from those two committees. Anybody else have any other issues for public before we briefly go into non-public? No? Okay, hearing none. So we have a safety and security discussion. Anyone else have other items for non-public?
Personnel.
Personnel and safety and security? Okay, I will take a motion to go into non-public at 8:07.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. We have to take a roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Paul? Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we will go into non-public. Yes, we will take a brief break.
So you can stop the live stream without stopping the